program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
It is an absolutely exquisite morning here in the African bush, and I am unbelievably excited because first thing this morning it is time to go and look for an old hyena den to see whether or not it has become a new hyena den. This is Safari Live.
Ready.
Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
And a very good morning to all of you, and welcome on our sunrise safari, where even with the excitement of the search for the hyena den, we've had to just stop and look at the actual sunrise, because look at how incredibly beautiful this is. Birds calling, mist floating, sun blazing. Isn't that beautiful? Let's take in a second to absorb the atmosphere of this. It's a chilly morning this morning. It is 21 degrees centigrade, 70 Fahrenheit. I forgot the word for Fahrenheit for a second. Well, not chilly. Chilly for summer standards on this, the 1st of February, as the sunrise safari starts half an hour later and our days get just that little bit shorter. And we've had a slightly cooler, much cooler, not slightly, a much cooler summer than last year. And quite frankly, it has been absolutely stunning. The bush is green, we've had rain, there's water, there is that large and beautiful silhouetted tree that you're looking at. All in all, I think we are very, very lucky to be heading out. Right, for those of you that have just joined us, my name is Jamie. Jandre is the one bringing you the incredible images of that sunrise. And you're on a live safari here from Djuma Private Game Reserve, which is in the Greater Kruger National Park area of South Africa. And I need to do this on the go because I can't...
Well, welcome back. We're on the northern boundary, the western boundary, and often Mr. Tingana will walk through and cross in this area somewhere, so we're just looking for for tracks. Now, I'm also checking for wild dogs. Oh, the corrugations on this road. There's a good spot to look for footprints. Sometimes he will use this route. Of course, tracking at the moment can be quite difficult because of all the rain. The road's very hard. It's been compacted heavily by the vehicles. What we're going to do is we're going to head up towards Sydney's waterhole, maybe have a little listen around there. We'll be listening for all sorts of alarm calls. For those of you not sure what alarm calls are, it's when an impala or a kudu spots a predator like a lion or a leopard, and they will snort or bark or chitter if you're a squirrel. Remember, hashtag Safari Live or questions at WildEarthTV if you have any questions for us out here in the African bush. Copy, thanks. I'm on my way. Now, we just got a report from Rexon and the bushwalk team with James that there's a lot of impala alarm calling just north of Vuyatela. He says it sounds like something's been caught, so maybe Tingana didn't wander that far. Who knows, it could be another leopard. Sometimes Djuma is in that area as well as Karula, but we don't know what's there. So the bushwalk team are heading in that direction. We're going to head in that direction from the northern boundary. Now, speaking about Rexon, James and the bushwalk team, let's go say good morning.
Good morning, everybody. I greet you in the name of marula fruit and impala alarm calls. My name is James Henry. VM is on camera today, and just behind VM, Rexon is looking for impala, which have been shouting down at the dam. Let's go and see if perhaps Tingana, maybe Karula, has come down here, maybe even a Birmingham male lion, perhaps. Now, as we think about this, please remember that we are completely live. Hashtag Safari Live is how you get hold of us. Otherwise, you can email us, questions at WildEarth.TV. The plan for us today is to see what these impala are alarming at. And if we don't come up with anything there, we're going to head down towards where Shongile and Hosana were seen yesterday, in the hopes that we can't pick them up. Didn't find them yesterday afternoon, spent a rather frustrating time not finding them. And then Tingana, of course, came onto the scene. And we certainly heard a leopard calling around camp yesterday evening. Tingana was sort of heading this direction when we left him last night, so it could easily have been him that was calling around the camp. So we'll just go down and have a look. There's a gorgeous sunrise off to our right-hand side here. Oof, that really is picture perfect. Vima, you're making me look gorgeous in the sunlight.
It's a hard job.
It's a hard job, yes, I know it is. Isn't that pretty? Just marvellous. I'd say it's relatively cool morning today, probably sitting at around 21 degrees Celsius or so, which, if I'm not mistaken, puts us at, what's it at, Jerry? What's that in Fahrenheit? You'd think after all this time I'd remember. 70 degrees Fahrenheit, which is very pleasant for a summer's morning here. And we're definitely still very much in the throes of summer, and unlike last year, it's been a very pleasant summer. Now, we're getting into the position where I think the impala are alarming. Now, leopards don't have to drink, but they will often come down to a waterhole to drink if there is water. And we know that Tingana and Karula like this waterhole down here. We'll just take you to the end of the road here. I don't want to stop and find anything just yet until we've had a good thorough look down towards the waterhole. There could easily be something interesting going on here. Probably not the wild dogs. They are around the area, of course, but probably not them, because as we know, impala just scatter when they see wild dogs. Okay, they're the impala then. They're all the other side of the drainage, the other side of the dam. Now, while we found the impala, it's fairly meaningless to what they were shouting at, because of course they, by this stage, will be looking in all directions, and they're not looking in one direction at the moment, and they're not shouting. So it could easily have been a leopard wandering towards this side of the dam, having a drink, and then moving on back south, perhaps. Now, I don't know how many of you were with us yesterday, but we had a very interesting time with Tingana. He was marking his territory, and it seemed to be that he was marking a very small piece of it and calling a lot, and perhaps leaving sign of himself more than marking his territory. Now, I'm just wondering if Karula hasn't perhaps come back into estrus or into heat or into a proto-estrus of some sort, because remember, we have seen her mating with Tingana once already during this cycle of cubs, while she's had Shongila and Hosana. And I just watched a bit of aggression between Karula and the cubs a few weeks ago. Maybe she's having another one of those sort of proto-estrus periods, and that's what he's picked up on. Right, Jamie has gone down to where Gwendoline has set herself up in the southeast. Let's find out if there's going to be a little baby in the offing.
This is so exciting. I can't wait to find out whether or not there's any babies. I'm sure that there are, actually. Hello, girl. Yes, hello. So, whilst James and Brent are on the hunt, most likely for a spotted cat, we've got a spotted creature of a different kind. Oh, and she's up. Hello, Gwen. This is one of the spotted hyenas in our clan. She's most definitely lactating. Where are you off to now? And she is tucked away in that den site. I wonder whether or not there are cubs in there already. I don't hear any squeakings of protest. That might have happened if they were suckling and she'd moved away. The cubs would immediately have started to sort of squeal and complain. It's a sound known as squeeing. And it's something unique to hyena cubs, although of course you hear complaints from cubs of different kinds, lions, leopards and so on. You can see how tatty Gwen is. And that immediately tells us, and we spent... Oh wait, hold on. Where's she looking at? Hold on one moment. She's just coming back this way. Just sniffing around. She might just be making sure that there's nothing dangerous around the den. She is a very low-ranking hyena in our hyena clan, and you can see the way that her ears have been ripped up and are scarred. I had one particular incident. Hello, my girl. What's the matter? What are you looking at? Shame. As hyenas go, this is not a particularly pretty one. She's been beaten up regularly. I was going to say I had one particular... Ow! Shame, girl. Again. I wonder... That's probably come from other hyenas. That's a nasty wound on her elbow. Right, what I was going to say before Gwen disappeared up around the corner was that I had one particular incident where we saw her being beaten up quite severely by members of her own clan. And hyenas have a very, very strict hierarchy that is very, very strictly maintained. And there is a big tree there. Just going to pretend that didn't happen and that I'm not now perched on it. Oh dear, so excited about hyenas. Let me go, tree. There we go. Where did she go now? She's probably vanished. So busy getting stuck on trees. What was I saying? Oh yes, a hyena hierarchy is very strictly maintained. And we had one incident where she was being badly beaten by members of her own clan. And the beating actually, this is a really awkward spot. Chandra, I'm sorry, I'm going to drive you a little bit into some... Oh no, it's not too bad. Some sickle bush. She eventually ended up trying to climb underneath my car. And when hyenas attack in that way, they tend to do so. They go for the ears and the bottom and the feet. And it's actually incredibly difficult to watch because it's unbelievably noisy. They make the most heart-wrenching sounds, much like I'm about to make because our hyenas disappeared. Very difficult to follow a hyena off-road at the best of times. And I don't really want to push her. I don't actually really want to startle her either. And she does have that injury and she potentially has new cubs. I don't know where she's going. You think she's gone towards Cheetah Cut Line side? Oh, no, that's perfect. That could well be. I think she's just doing a circuit of the den site. I think she's going to come back again. Lauren, you want to know how do hyena families work? Do the males stay with the families? The answer to that is, the short answer is sometimes. The long answer is that I don't think we necessarily have got to know everything that there is to know about hyenas. They have unbelievably complex social structures, and so many of the studies that have been conducted in places like East Africa or in deserts. So the dynamics of hyena clans are going to be different wherever in Africa you are. What will happen is that you'll get the females, they'll stay within the clan, although sometimes they do have a split off and they move off if the clan gets too big, if it can't support itself, they'll move off and start their own clan. The males can do one of two things. They can become clan males, or they can actually disperse and seek their way into another clan, try and find their way into another clan, or become a nomadic hyena, so essentially not belonging to any clan and not really having a territory. The hyena, the reason that they can do that and not have a situation where there's inbreeding, although the potential is always there, is because unlike a lion pride, for example, where that would be disastrous because that male would be related to each and every single member, unlike a lion pride, hyena clans are made up of different genetic lines. So you get some females with their daughters and their sisters, and then you get unrelated ones that are also part of the clan, and that's usually where the hierarchy falls. So you'll have one lineage that is particularly dominant. There's her tracks. She's going south again, or these old tracks heading south. Those have been tromped on by civets. Where did you go, Gwen? Don't leave us so soon. Have they been tromped over by civets, or is this her? I still think, I just have a suspicion that she's doing a circuit. She's checking to make sure everything is safe and well. Particularly because she's on her own. And we've seen Gwen do this before. When I very first arrived here, when I very first started working here, she was in the den with the rest of the clan. And then in June last year, that was in June 2015. In June 2016, she had new cubs all on her own at one of the den sites that had been abandoned. And I think she does that because she's so low ranking that if her cubs are getting bullied, if they're being and they can, I mean, hyena cubs can kill each other. If her cubs are being harassed in some way, if she steps in to try and help them, she will immediately be put in her place by one of the higher ranking females. And I think that's why she chooses to den on her own. Just that little bit away from the hyena clan, but that comes with its disadvantages. But there you go, Gail. You wanted to know why she always leaves the clan in order to have her babies. I think that is why. I think that's what causes it. I don't know where she's gone. I think she's disappeared. Now, Happy, good morning. Happy, you say that Gwen seems completely disinterested in myself and genre and the vehicle that we're in. You want to know if most of the wildlife ignores us this way. Yes, all of the large predators absolutely do. It is always the possibility, and I mean it's quite a long explanation, but there's always the possibility that a leopard will come in that hasn't encountered vehicles before. That's an unusual experience, and then they will be slightly more skittish. And of course we're always reading the body language of these animals. Yeah, I think she's cutting around. And his track's going across there as well. What is that? Oh yes. So most of the big predators here have spent their lives, they've been born with safari vehicles and vehicles like ours driving around them. And they've come to realize that we don't mean any kind of a threat to them. We're not dangerous. We're not going to try and attack them. Nothing's going to happen to them because we're there. So they essentially treat us as a moving part of their landscape. And in particular with Gwen, with that incident I was telling you about where her ears were being pulled, her bottom was being bitten, she was really, really in an absolute state. She was covered in blood. She tried to climb underneath the car to try and get away. She tried to climb under the vehicle, just using it as an obstacle to try and stop what was happening to her. And unfortunately, I couldn't allow that. It's just that little bit too dangerous for us. We don't want that interaction with the animals. We try and avoid interaction wherever possible. The whole vehicle was doing this as she was trying to climb under it. Shame. I'll always have a soft spot for her now. Apparently she doesn't feel the same about me though. She clearly doesn't have a soft spot for me, because as soon as I arrived she got up and left. Okay, what we'll do is we'll do one more circuit, check the den again. While we do that, I'm sure you're excited to know whether Brent has any news for you on his search for whatever's alarming the impala.
Well, we haven't found the impala yet, but we're in the right area, so we're just going very, very slowly, hoping to find a drag mark, so where something's caught something and dragged it across the road. But unfortunately, if it doesn't happen on the road, it's very difficult to see. I've seen it. I can't see where bushwalk are. I know they're in this area somewhere as well. And as we say that, I can see them up ahead. Standing by. Well, copy Rex, I can see your camouflaged bag. Morning, morning, morning. Fancy meeting you out here. I've shared. Is it a male or is it a female? Is it Tingana? Aubrey said he had other tracks outside the gate as you come out of the lodge, going around the fence line.
He came down over the dam, straight up there, and we heard the impala yelling right here.
Okay.
So
Who knows? Well, I don't want to drive over your tracks.
just be careful.
I'll be careful then, yes. Okay, so
Scratch around here, and maybe you can get further up the road.
you do notice James has got a longer stick than he used to have. Well, is there any particular reason for that, James?
I broke.
You broke? Oh, that's very sad.
I lost my temper.
Very fresh. Okay, so we would try to show you them, but on this ground it's going to be a very, very difficult. I think James might and Veer might have a better chance, but even then I think it's very hard ground. So we're going to try not to drive over the track, so we're going to keep our wheels to the left slightly and see if we not bump him on the road. Vive la France!
As you were. Bye, Batman.
Bye, VMP!
Bye.
Bye, Rex. Okay, so we're in the right zone now, and who knows, maybe he is marching down the road scent marking, and as I say, the tracks are going to be very difficult to see on this particularly hard patch of ground. Hopefully a little bit further on it'll be a bit easier. Now, of course, tracking on foot is always much easier than... oh, there we go. It's all happening here this morning. There's Aubrey. Morning, Orbs. They've got his Nkonzo, his Famba North up here. It looks like Tingana. So we're going to keep checking, and the guys are going to keep following on foot. Morning, everyone. Okay, so let's carry on. Hopefully this leopard's just up around the bend. So we're going to be checking carefully into the bush on both sides. He might have deviated off after being snorted at by the impala. So Aubrey's come past the Galago pad, no sign of him there. He has a spot with some slightly softer sand, so I want to check. Well, when I said slightly softer, I think I was exaggerating. It's still quite hard. but we are quite sure he's very close. I think he's cut a corner. Always pays to just stop and listen every now and then. Just the dawn chorus of birds. Well, let's carry on. Good morning, Lisa. Lisa would like to know, how often does a leopard kill? Do they eat in impala every day? Well, Lisa, unfortunately for them, oh, here we go. I've got his tracks here, so he's back on the road. Lisa, I haven't forgotten about you. But they do probably catch an impala or whatever every 2 or 3 days. Even a big male leopard like Tingana is not going to be able to finish a whole adult impala in a day. They eat, on average, if you take all their kills over a month, they eat about 6 kilograms of meat per day if they're a female, slightly more if they're a male. Now, I'm hoping to spot him walking down the road. Let me just double check his tracks are still here. But it all depends. They can sometimes go up to 10 days or so without a meal, but obviously the longer they go, the more risky it is for them and the less energy they have. And that's why injuries in wild animals can actually spell a death sentence, and why most of the time they would rather disappear or run away from a fight or posture rather than actually get into a tangle with another animal. Okay, let's look carefully. And okay, let me have a quick, let's have a careful look here. There are some hyena tracks around as well. Not seeing his tracks at the moment. And there they are. We can't be too far behind him. Let's just hope he doesn't cross the northern boundary before we get to him. Now I'm driving a little bit faster than I normally would tracking because I know he's close, and I also know that the boundary is coming up. Now of course he might have cut off the road, but I think let's play with the side of caution. We can always come back and check tracks, but if he crosses, he crosses. Okay, let's have a quick look on the boundary. Let's have a, bouncy bounce. Okay, good sign so far. There are no tracks here. Maybe he's ducked into that little river system. Sometimes he does like to walk down the fire break. Okay, well, Vincent would like to know what difference do the seasons make in terms of game viewing. Well, game viewing is pretty good all year round. It is generally a bit easier during the dry season. The grass is shorter, the ground is dry, so it's much easier to see tracks. But the animals are always here. Just in the summer months, you got to work a little bit harder to find them, particularly things like leopards. But during the dry season, also a lot of your general game spread out, your zebra, your wildebeest, and such. Now I'm going to go back to where last tracks were. I think there's a big elephant path. Now, especially on a dewy morning like today, he's going to try avoid getting too wet by walking through the grass, so use roads and elephant paths. I might go check near the old hyena den. That is also a favourite spot of his while he's on patrol. Now, he could have been distracted by something, gone off the road, then come back. Back to Vincent's question. The best game viewing is generally right at the end of winter, just before first rain. So October, November. It's when the bush is at its most dry and most open. Tracking's at its easiest. So the last footprint we saw was probably about 100 meters there, so I'm going to check down towards the old hyena den. I have found him in this area a few times. I'm going to switch off the car and we're going to freewheel down just in case we can hear something. Very, very quiet. We're trying to find any little sign, normally from sound, that he might be close here. Rexon's just calling me on the radio. Standing by. Yeah, Rex, the last tracks are just before the entrance to Old Mnisikaya. I didn't see where they left the road. I've come back and I'm going to check the Old Mnisikaya, but there's no sign of him crossing the cut line yet. Probably about 60 meters to the south of the Old Mnisikaya turnoff, still on Mvu Road. Okay, so Rex and James are still coming, and as I said, it's much easier for them because they can go much slower and much closer to the ground following the tracks. we go, let's have a look here on the termite mound. Let's have another little listen. And a very good morning to Adiva, who's a new viewer. And Adiva would like to know, how long have we known this male leopard? Oh, nearly 2 years that we've been seeing him. Originally, this area was dominated by a male leopard called Mvula, and Tingana used to be more in Arathusa and to the west. And what happened is a big male leopard called the Anderson male came into that area and pushed Tingana, and then the Tingana then pushed Mvula out. Mvula was quite old, so he's around 13, 14, so he's now become a nomadic male who doesn't hold any specific territory, and Tingana has sort of taken over his whole territory. But we're still not hearing any sign of alarm calls, so we're going to get back on towards where that last track was. While we do that, it seems like Jamie has found a very large waterhole.
It would be hard to miss this very large waterhole, but yes, I suppose you could say that I found it. I don't think I get credit for being the one who discovered it. I do, however, have a very short attention span. I was looking for Gwen, she went to Torchwood, then I was looking for Tundi, who's come here, and then I got distracted by this gorgeous morning light with the steam coming off of the dam itself. And it is just so very, very pretty that we simply could not resist stopping and having a look. Isn't it gorgeous, Chandre? I agree, it was prettier earlier though. It was prettier further back. I concede. It is such a glorious morning. So there's fresh tracks for Tundi coming along towards this dam. But we could not resist stopping to see what the hippos are up to and to see whether or not there's any sign of that brand new baby. But before we do, there's all of our prattencoals, enormous flocks of them, collared prattencoals, gathered together at the edge of the dam. We were chatting about this last night and the fact that some years you see them and some years you just don't. Well, apparently. I mean, I've only worked here for 2 years, so I didn't see them last year, and now I've started seeing them this year, so I'll have to take the word of people who've been working here for a little bit longer. And there's our hippopotamuses. Sorry, I'm half listening to the Game Drive channel as well. Here we go. There's the hippo. I don't see any sign of that little baby. I wonder if Mom will still be keeping it close to the side. When Brent encountered it, it was still tiny, tiny. Something keeps popping up there. I can't decide if it's a fish or if it's a hippo, because I keep only catching it out of the corner of my eye. I'll keep watching. It might be the hippo. But yes, when Brent saw it, it had only just been born, and because of course hippopotamus cannot swim, being a baby hippopotamus... Oh, goose. This is also the dam of the Egyptian goose. There are so many here. Nice, Andre. Very nice. I can't even remember what I was talking about. I got distracted by the flying goose, the beautiful flying goose. There's also, I'm sorry to, oh yes, I was talking about baby hippos and not being able to swim, and Mom keeping it close to the edge of the water in order to make sure that it was safe and that it didn't drown. So she kept nudging it up against the side with her body. And at this point now, a few days old, it will be absolutely fine to go into the center of the dam as long as Mom doesn't go too deep, because then what it will do is it'll rest upon her back and then pop its nose up every now and again. So I've been looking, but it's very hard, especially with this blinding light, to try and see where she might be. Now, Tristan used to work here, and he said generally when the hippos gave birth, they gave birth on the other side of the dam, but that was when the dam had more water. It's now dried up on that end, so our hippo pod tends to cluster elsewhere. There's a few stragglers there. Any babies? Apparently that was where the hippos used to keep the... There it is, there it is! There it is! Well done, Tristan, and his word of advice. There's Mom over there, and little baby is there. There you go. Hi, little one. Is that baby? Must be. No, that looks a little bit too large for the newborn baby. I think I got my hopes up. It's still a baby. Perhaps it is. It's hard to tell at this distance. And I'd love to go all the way to the other side, but we definitely won't have any signal there. It's very brave if it is a newborn baby, because it's just moved right away from mum. Another baby. No, that's a hippo. That's just a hippo. I'm getting overexcited at the prospect of baby hippos. Oh, Sherry, you want to know if this safari in Africa is different from natural Africa. This is, Sherry, to be honest, this is about as natural as it gets. We're in 8.5 million acres of... So it's essentially a reserve that South Africa, through the top northeastern corner of South Africa, right up to Zimbabwe and into Mozambique. So it really is an absolutely massive area. There are houses, there are lodges here, and that's actually a really important way of helping to preserve conservation. So there's very few truly wild areas left on the African continent, if you want to call it wild, in that there's no human beings at all. Because the future of conservation in a country like South Africa, or in countries in Africa, tourists bring money. Money secures the future of conservation areas. So we see the lodges, we see the other game drive vehicles with their guests on safari. First of all, it gives them an incredible experience, and then second of all, it is a great way to actually continue to keep areas like this conservation areas, rather than them eventually being turned into farmland or something similar, or mines, for example. So it's really very important. So this is natural Africa. This is natural wild Africa. It is as wild as it gets. Every single animal out here is wild. They behave in their own wild way, like these two hippo boys, sparring a little bit, keeping each other entertained, as they always do in that corner. I feel as though every time I've come here, there's a pair of hippopotamus nibbling at each other, or three hippopotamuses nibbling at each other. So, Sherry, this is truly wild. It really, really is. If I were to get out and go walk up to that mommy hippo, for example, with her baby, she would definitely do me some serious damage. So it is a very special place. This is as natural as you can get. There are parts of Kruger. The Kruger National Park itself, I think the statistic is about 2% of it is accessible to the public. 2% of an area that is 8.5 million or 8.4 million acres. Just to give you an idea of how much of it is untapped. Very little roads. There are animals in there that have not seen human beings or vehicles, which I love. I should continue on my search for Tundi, I think. I've been distracted multiple times, but that's what I really want to do. Speaking of searches for leopards, let's go and see what Brent is up to.
Well, it sounds like he just called in this area. Oh, excuse me. In this area somewhere. Aubrey heard him. It sounds like he was on the fire break, so he must have just cut that corner ahead of us. And we're gonna try find him now. So he is still vocalizing. So he's around here somewhere. So Aubrey's also in the area, giving us a hand. We think he could be around Gallagher shortcut to Aubrey's Road. I'm just trying to look for that little white spot of the tail through the grass. Now Tingana, like most male leopards, can really march, and they can cover massive distances in quite a short space of time. Especially, it's been quite a cool morning, so he's on the march. So he could be anywhere around here. We just got to hope he doesn't turn north. See, there his tracks. Yeah. Let's just have a quick look back to those last. Here they are. So it looks like he might have turned back into Djuma. I might jump ahead. So last tracks were here. Here. Oh dear. And so the last tracks there. Aubrey's checking over there. William's checking over there. So we'll check a little bit further forward. Tingana being sneaky. And I mean, in this long grass, all he has to do is step off the road, lie down, and he's a vanishing leopard. This is so frustrating because we know he's so close. Remember, hashtag Safari Live or questions at WildEarthTV if you would like to ask us anything. No alarm calls from the little birds. I'm going to check down towards Sydney's waterhole and I'm going to come back along the fire break. And remember to check at the top of all the termite mounds. He really likes to sort of get up there, use them as a vantage point. Joshua is wondering how far can a leopard's chuff be heard from? Not very far at all, Joshua. Chuff is a very close contact call, probably only heard by leopards from a few meters, and you have to be really close to them. For those of you who are not sure what a leopard's chuff is, it is a little contact call they generally do amongst themselves, but they've got to be very close to each other. It's a sort of and there's only two big cats that chuff. It's leopards and tigers are the only two big cats that do that chuffing noise when communicating with each other. Now, if you look, probably the reason a lion doesn't chuff is because they're a social predator, and they have a lot more visual forms of communication than the solitary cats. Okay, so there's some impala down here, so he hasn't got this far. So let's go back up the fabric. While we do that, let's go back to the beautiful Chitwa Dam with Jamie.
The beautiful Chitwa Dam indeed, and I'm still actually wasn't planning on still being here, but I got distracted by trying to see whether or not there were any eggs still left in the nest of the geese, and I can't see them, but then I thought perhaps it had hatched, and then I got overly excited when I saw what looked like tiny geese, but they're not in fact tiny geese at all. They are relatively large geese. I can't believe how fast these goslings have grown up. They now basically look like adult geese, all gathered around their parents and suctioning up any bits of algae and floating debris that they can find on top of the water. So they are herbivores and spend a lot of time feeding off plant material. The hippopotami are relatively comfortable. They're all settling down now as this day starts to get hotter. I have a feeling, I said this yesterday and I was completely mistaken, I have a feeling it's going to be scorching hot today. All of the hippo have found themselves in a comfortable huddle. The hippopotamus, the Chitwa pod of hippo. One bull and a few cows and a few little ones. I'm still not sure because that little baby disappeared around the corner of the dam, so I'm still not sure if that was the newborn baby or not. It's just that little bit too far away. And then, beautifully lit up in the sun, is the fish eagle. There we go. There's the beautiful fish eagle, looking radiant with its shiny white belly in the morning light. Isn't that gorgeous? Absolutely stunning. There's a pair of them. The second one's quite far away. And in that direction is where I think Tundi is hiding. Ooh. Love the sound effects of hippo. Speaking of hippo, Michael, you wanted to know how long it will be before the baby is old enough to swim on its own. It's never going to be able to swim because hippo don't really learn to swim. But when it'll be a couple of months old when it leaves the sanctuary of mom's back. It really is only around about a month. It does a huge amount of growing in about a month, to the point that it's able to move about away from her, bob up, bob down again, and then when it wants to go to sleep, if it's not big enough to be able to rest comfortably, then it'll return back onto mom's back. Already now, it'll probably be exploring the world around it and then returning to mom once again. So it just depends. She's going to keep it in the shallows for a couple of days and then start bringing it into the middle once it gains confidence. But they grow very, very rapidly. The milk is, of course, with most of our animals, is of a very high quality, so it sustains them particularly well. So it can, it'll never be able to swim. It will be able to bounce around at about a month old. I really want to go and look for Tundi. I just have a feeling she's somewhere in there. Those tracks were so fresh. Aaron, you want to know if I'd seen the crocodile yet? I have not, unfortunately, Aaron. If I had seen it, I promise you I would have shown it to you, but I'm sure it's here. I know it's here. It's just probably somewhere hidden behind one of the dam walls or one of the banks. It might even be in the water, but I doubt it. I would say that it's going to be taking advantage of this nice warm morning to find itself a spot on the bank, open up its mouth, and enjoy some time basking. And crocodiles, of course, of all of the creatures out here, not creatures, that is a silly thing to say, all of the reptiles out here, is the one that has probably the most control over its internal body temperature. But it's still a reptile and is still an ectotherm, and therefore does occasionally need to come out into the sun in order to warm up. But it's not nearly as dependent on external temperatures to control the amount of energy it has in its internal body temperature as things like snakes and lizards. Geckos are another one. Geckos are also have a certain degree of control over their internal body temperature. That's why they can be nocturnal rather than diurnal. I can't see the eggs in the nest. I can't see any sign of crocodiles. So I think we have pretty much scoured the Chitwa Dam. Time for Genre and myself to move on, but let's head across to Brent while we do to find out where he's up to and if he's had any luck.
So we found tracks again just here, but there's a herd of impala close by, and I just have to wonder whether he's stalking them. So I'm just going very, very slowly. And he could be right here on the edge of this tree line, as the other impala are. And we can't hear. Heard one Franklin briefly alarm call. So I'm trying to check in all the thickets and shadows to see a slinking leopard. But no luck so far. I'm going to go back to that last track we saw. So I half expect to see him looking down this way from the edge of these trees here. Come on, Mr. T, where are you hiding? He's just been one step ahead of us all morning. Okay, let's just have a look. So we spotted those tracks here. I just want to make sure you didn't do a dive off to the side. Now there's a track you might be able to see. Let me just move the car a bit. Got to be right here somewhere. So there we go. Now those impala are just there, and they have an alarm called. See, what I'm trying to see is if he spotted the impala and then into this line of thickets. Okay. It's getting warm again. Time to lose the layer. Well, Lisa was wondering, compared to a human hand, how big is a leopard's paw? Well, there we go, Lisa. So, a big male leopard's paw basically fits on the inside of my palm. I've got quite big hands though. He's right here somewhere. Just looking for a little sign to where he might be. Thought I heard an alarm call there, it wasn't. Maybe those impala came out of the bush after he was already here. Let's go. I'm just going to check down the fire break a little bit more. Didn't see any tracks going southwest. The leopard conundrum this morning. See, no one's driven through here yet. Jacqueline is saying, don't animals ever walk on the left-hand side? You only seem to check on the right-hand side. Well, Jacqueline, even if they do, what I do is I drive off the road because it's near impossible for me to look over there, so I keep my right-hand side open to look for tracks. Just because I don't have a door, it's much easier this way. Wait, what's that? Nope. See, there's another unfazed, worried looking impala. Okay, let's turn around. I'm not seeing any tracks here. Let's head a little bit further to the west. So he might have just seen those impala and then, as I said, just moving along the edge of the tree line up there. So let's go check the tree line again. Their camouflage is so great. We're just looking for the tiniest little giveaway, a flick of an ear, that white of the leopard's tail. But even better, normally you hope for one of the other animals to let you know where he is with a bout of alarm calling. Okay, we're going to keep searching for this very elusive male leopard. While we do that, it sounds like Jamie's got a great grey pachyderm.
The great grey pachyderms found me, actually. They came wandering straight towards the vehicle, and I cannot believe how much I have missed sitting with breeding herds of elephants. I don't know how long it's been since I've actually spent quality time with a group of elephants with females and little ones. And that little baby that's next to the female, she came running right up to the vehicle. It was so sweet. It wasn't quite a sort of a mock, it wasn't aggressive at all. It was curious and sort of nervously attempting to intimidate us. It was utterly adorable. Ears out, trunk up, trying to go and sniff the front of the vehicle, and then immediately turned round and ran straight back to Mum, trunk extended, reaching out for her tail, just for that little bit of contact and security. Why is there... Oh, they're boys. They're chasing each other. Never mind. About to ask why there were two male impala dashing past, but they're just playing. A beautiful scene now that we've got these open areas with actual grass in them, as opposed to open areas of just sand, which we had a few months ago. Now we get to enjoy elephant sightings out in the open where they're chomping mouthfuls of grass. And that is so lovely. Lovely. Quite a young female that's leading this herd. I don't know. It's interesting. It might be a split. You do occasionally get splits in elephant herds. I'm surprised to see she's the only young female. She's the only adult female in this group, so she has to be the matriarch. She's broken off. She's missing the tusk on her right-hand side. And they seem to be all alone, unless there's more elephants trundling up the road behind me. I don't see any, though. I saw some tracks from earlier. She does seem to be separate from the rest of the group. And I suspect, even if I had to guess, she's too young to be the mother of that oldest the second oldest female, which is the one in the middle there. The second tallest elephant. So I'm not sure about this dynamic. It's an interesting one. That calf is most definitely hers, though. Just over a year old, and still very much in her shadow. Wait, Mum. Oh, we're all going for a drink. That would be lovely if you would all go for a drink. The grass looks utterly gorgeous in the morning dew. Okay, shall we chance it? Get a little bit closer. Goes slightly in towards a dip. Our signal on Chitwa is shaky at times, so I'm not sure whether or not. Let's try and get a little bit closer. I suspect, unfortunately, that Thandi has, unless she's sitting in a marula tree somewhere right here, I suspect that Thandi has crossed onto Little Gowrie. Her tracks are heading straight in that direction, right up to the cut line of Chitwa and Little Gowrie, which unfortunately means this morning we can't follow her, unless she's sitting somewhere here. Hey guys. Okay, let's get right up here. Hello, hello. There we go. Perfect. Our Chrissy, very good morning to you. Chrissy, you want to know what the difference is between hippo and elephant skin. And we've got the perfect opportunity here to examine the skin of this particular pachyderm. Thick, literally thick skin. Elephant skin is not sensitive to the sun in the same way a hippo's is. So a hippo's skin is, I wouldn't call it smooth. It's not as wrinkly as an elephant's. It's thinner, although of course they do have a very large layer of subcutaneous fat. But a hippo's skin is thinner than that of an elephant. An elephant's skin is a couple of inches thick. And before you get to the fat layer, it's unbelievably tough. If an elephant had a hippo's skin, it would have to live in water, because that's one of the big reasons why hippos spend as much time as they do. They've got skin that is very sensitive to sunburn. But what they do have that elephants don't have is something known as blood sweat, or colloquially known as blood sweat. It's a reddish liquid that is secreted that acts as a sunblock and as an antibacterial agent. So they've got that very useful aspect. Elephant don't have that. Both hippo and elephant are covered in hair, even though you don't realize it, unless you're looking at a very fluffy baby. But they have short bristles all over their bodies. Hippo do as well. So in that way they are similar. And the color's different as well. But most importantly is the fact that an elephant can go and stand if it has to. It doesn't want to, but it can go and stand in blazing sunlight. And the skin will not be damaged in any way. Look at that little bottom. It's so cute. Oh, I've missed baby elephants. And you, mister? What was that about? Big head shake. Very scary. While we look at potentially one of the most dangerous animals in the bush, but of course the nicest animal to sit and watch, I'm sure you're all deeply concerned as to whether or not James has been trampled by some animal or perhaps fallen in.
Well, he seems to be keeping one step ahead of us. I found where he's crossed the access road. And now I just want to check the big elephant paths that run through here, and I'm really hoping we get at least one sight of him before he disappears after all the tracking we've done this morning. So this big elephant paths run through some pans here, and they lead straight to Sibambili, unfortunately. He's just staying one step ahead of us. One step, he says. No tracks here just yet, so maybe he is still behind us. Just want to... Oh dear, is that a leopard track? He's being very tricky this morning. And if you guys are worried and wondering about James and Co, unfortunately it seems like we're having a few tech problems with the backpack, so they've gone back to camp Okay, this is where I need to check very, very carefully. See, there's one of the elephant paths comes out here. I'm going to check very carefully on the edge of the road here because he's beaten us. Straight down that elephant path, straight where we predicted, but unfortunately he's one step ahead and he has left our traverse area. Win some, you lose some. So let's head down to the south. Let's see if we can find Karula, Hosanna and Shongile. Darn it. Okay. Any station in the west, copy. Tungana has crossed straight towards One Eye Pan. Probably in the last 10 minutes we heard him calling, but his tracks have just crossing at One Eye Pan. We heard him about 10 minutes ago outside, and I've just come to check the boundary and his tracks cross. Are there any other updates for Safari? Okay, copy, thanks. Okay, so no updates for Arathusa. We decided to just have a check, and we've let the guys know who are in the west who can travel there to go look for him, so hopefully they find him. And as I said, we'll head down towards the south now. This area, good spot to look for Shadow, and she holds territory both sides of the road in this area. I haven't seen her in quite some time. If we have no sign of Shadow in this area, we'll pop around and down towards the southern boundary and keep a lookout for Karula. Well, I think while we do that, it's time to start the February bird list. We've attempted the leopards. Tungana has stayed one step ahead of us this morning, so we can do some birding while we head down to look for Karula. And there's our first bird of February. Oh, there was our first bird of February. He has flown away and does not count. It was a fork-tailed drongo, but I'm sure we'll get that one over this month. I'm quite excited to see how many species, when we're keeping track over a month between the different guides, we can get. And it'll be really nice to see how many total species for the month. Now February is also a really good month, so I think February is going to be possibly our highest month in terms of numbers of birds, because all the cuckoos are still here, the bee eaters are still here, and the migrant raptors are also still here, and the swallows. So it'll be fascinating to see if we can maybe get over the whole month between all the guides live on camera. I think we can get probably maybe close to 200 species. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? And that's why I think it's a fun challenge that we've started. I don't think we've ever done anything like that. We have those single days where we really focus on birds, but to have this going on And a big thank you to Nev in Australia, who's actually keeping a spreadsheet between all of us and the different bird species we see. So a big thank you to Nev, and hopefully we were able to find a lot of you guys some other birds on you. Oh, wait, Batman has spotted something. Oh yes, well done, Batman. A nice, beautiful bird if it doesn't fly away to start the February list with. And of course, not going to be here for the whole year. And the migrant species that come down to visit. And the European roller. Now, strangely enough, I've seen those while in France as well during the European summer. So that European roller looks like he's puffed up, sitting up and out in the open, basking in the sun, enjoying the warmth, because it was quite chilly this morning when we started. Lovely. Good one to start off February with. Okay, let's keep heading south. And it is a spectacular morning. Almost had a winter's morning feel, or an early winter morning feel to it. Although already now the sun is starting to, well, turn up the heat, so to speak. So it's 71 degrees Fahrenheit already. I think we probably started around 18 when we started out this morning. There's a testicular alarm calling. I don't know whether it's at us driving past, or it could be a snake, or a mongoose, or even a leopard. Okay. Now it's going to be quite a... Okay, there we go. So, I'm going to look across into the thickets here. Okay, let me just see where, a little bit further left. Okay, zoom, center frame. Low. A little bit again. A little bit to the right in that dead branch, those dead branches there. Okay, a little bit to the right in the branches. A little bit lower. And just hold there. You can just see a little bit of movement in the center there. Psh, 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 psh. No, that testiculate is not coming out of its hidey hole. So while we continue our search for birds and leopards, let's go back to Jamie, who's got some elegant antelope.
I don't have any elegant antelope, I'm afraid. They wandered off into the bush, as so often happens with live wildlife filming. Either we've got a bird to show you, or an antelope, or a warthog, and then by the time we get there, unfortunately, it has disappeared. But never fear, we're on our way back towards the hyena den. I was going to follow up on Tundi, but it seems as though she's gone on to Little Gowrie, so she's vanished. That's okay. I'm going to go and see whether or not Gwen hasn't decided to come back to the entrance to the den site and just investigate. Perhaps she just went on a little bit of a circuit. Yeah, perhaps she went on a little bit of a circuit around the den site to try and sniff out what was around. I'm a silly person. Busy taking the off-road tracks to where Karula's old kill was. That's not where I want to go. Not at all. This is where Karula killed that massive impala ram, and where Wendy performed the incredible horn blaring sound just before we went into an ad break. Okay. Amazing. Come to think of it, actually, the timing of everything, because if Gwen had been here when Karula had made that kill, we wouldn't have seen Karula here. There's no way Karula would have kept that kill so close to a den site like this. Oh, the nuances of timing out here. And I wonder whether our return is not based on the movement of the Nkuhumas. I wonder whether or not the Nkuhumas going back into Manyeleti might not have prompted a return of our hyenas back onto Djuma. We see the Djuma clan relatively regularly. It used to be more regularly. And we know of the hyenas around Arathusa, the part of the Elephant Plains clan. But Aaron, you want to know why it is we never see hyena on Cheetah Plains, or hardly ever see hyena on Cheetah Plains? I'm not sure. I have wondered that myself, particularly during the drought, when there were so many carcasses around for them to have scavenged on. We know that there are hyena there. I've seen one once. And we know that Quarantine's had 1 or 2 run-ins with them whenever he's had kills there. So they are there. I don't know whether it's just because it might be the fringes of a territory. Perhaps the clan itself, the core den sites, could even be in Kruger, for all we know. Or in Mala Mala, we just don't know. It might be a fringe territory. It might also just be purely a product of time spent on Cheetah Plains. I don't think they have any den sites. In fact, I'm certain they don't have any den sites. Please be here, Gwen. It would be so pleasant if you could bring out your cubs to us. They might still be too young to come out of the den. They might only be a few days old, if they are there at all. One. Oh my word. It's okay, little one. Okay, let's just sit still and quiet. There's another one, there's another one. There's another one. He's coming out. Hello, guys. Guys, these are her cubs from June. She hasn't given birth. These are her cubs from June, and they've never seen a vehicle before. Well, they have, but they were so tiny when they did. It's all right, little ones. That's why they're so nervous. And Mom's not here. All right, we're actually going to have to move out of the sighting because these little cubs are so nervous of us. And I'll explain to you why in a moment. Gwen's not here, so they don't know how to react. And I don't want them dashing around away from the den site while their mom's not here. So I'm going to move out so that they can feel safe to come back to the safety of the den. Obviously that den is shallow and they don't feel secure within it. There's 2 of them! Oh, that's exciting. So let me explain a little bit for our viewers that haven't been watching since June. Around June last year, Gwen was denning on her own, and we got to see just once, I think it was once or twice, brand new little cubs, tiny little brown creatures that had only just emerged from the den. They came tottering out in the half darkness, in the semi-darkness, and then the hyenas disappeared. It was Gwen. I said I was surprised that she was denning so soon. It was possible, but I wondered whether or not she hadn't lost those cubs. That's them. And because she's low ranking, I think that's why they're so small. They're quite undersized for 8-month-old. Is it 8 months? July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February. Yeah, 8 months. Nearly. So they're quite undersized. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I think those are Gwen's cubs from June. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a loop round on the road, but I'm so excited. I don't want to... You can understand why little hyena cubs being out away from the den like that, it's potential risk if they're panicked, because they don't know whether or not they can come back to the den if we're there. Because Gwen moved to somewhere else, I don't think they had as much contact with vehicles, because that was a serious panic reaction when they saw us. So that really nicely takes us back to the question that was asked about Gwen not caring about us or the vehicle. and the fact that she's grown up with vehicles moving around her, and then to see the reaction of those cubs. Now that we can change really easily, because hyenas habituate beautifully and very quickly. They've got a natural, very powerful curiosity, but you can't do it now. We have to wait until Gwen is back. And as soon as they see that Gwen's reaction to the cars, as soon as they see she's not scared, they will be absolutely fine. Yay! I'm so excited. I'm almost certain those are those cubs that we just saw so briefly in June. Yay! While they're wandering alone off there's all sorts of dangers potentially. David, you want to know if leopard cubs would kill a hyena cub? Against, for example, Hosanna. But maybe, let's say they went running in, they went dashing off away from the safety of the den and happened to stumble upon Karula's cubs. Maybe there's a chance that a leopard cub would kill them, but it would have to be quite a big leopard cub and quite a young hyena cub. Hyenas generally, instinctively, animals have an idea as to where they fall in the hierarchy, and leopards know that they are not particularly high up. Hyena are. Hyena in big numbers are second only to lions, unless there's a huge pack of wild dogs. Wild dogs and spotted hyenas kind of are on equal footing, just depends on who has the advantage of numbers. Leopards fall way below there. So the chances are very slim. I can't tell you. I'm so tempted to go and sit at that den site and just wait for them, but I don't want them to feel, with the way that den site's positioned, I can't sit far enough away, and I don't want them to feel as though they can't come back to their own den. But I promise you, the next few days, they'll habituate so quickly. Georgie in Massachusetts, I hope you're very excited. You want to know how we name the animals. The leopards are named by democracy. It depends where you are, but sometimes it's named by the person who found them as cubs, sometimes it's named by the people who've been serving the longest as guides in an area, and then sometimes it's named by democracy, which is what we did with Karula's cubs, for example. And then, but there's a sort of an unspoken code. You don't argue with the people who found them with their name suggestions. The lions are generally just named for the area that they're in, the Nkuhumas, or where they've been regularly seen. The Birmingham boys, for example, they came from the Birmingham area, or the Birmingham Pride, which is named for the Birmingham area, not in the UK. The hyenas were a curious mixture, because nobody in the reserves names hyenas except for us, and we had to because we couldn't keep track of them. It's very difficult to try and say to viewers, you remember that hyena that we saw then, rather than just saying, for example, Gwen, Madam, or Pretty, or whatever. So I named one, James named another. I'm not quite sure how Pretty was named, and then most of the other names have been handed on by viewers who have helped us tremendously to keep track of the hyena clan and to get to know the individual members, particularly when we all arrived new. One last look at my kudu that have finally popped out. Here we go.